Hey everyone, and thanks for checking out this movie review. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a film from my collection that I just recently purchased about a month ago and watched for the first time, and that is from 2016, the original Don't Breathe. As most of you probably know, there's a second Don't Breathe that's out at theaters right now. I think it came out about a week ago or so. I might go see it. I'm not sure yet, but obviously I wasn't going to go see it until I saw the first one, which I owned, as I said. So I have Don't Breathe on Blu-ray here. So I thought I'd do a review of it. I just recently watched it last night. So let me get into my thoughts on it. First of all, the Don't Breathe, a 2016 American horror thriller film produced and directed by Fede Alvarez, co-produced by Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert, and co-written by Alvarez and Rodu Sayagas. The film stars Jane Levy, Dylan Minnette, Danielle Zavato, and Stephen Lang. Basically, the movie focuses on three friends who get trapped in a blind man's house while breaking into it. The film was produced by Ghost House Pictures and Good Universe and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. So basically, we start out by following these three Detroit delinquents, Rocky, Alex, and Money, who make a living by breaking into houses and stealing valuables. Rocky longs to move to California with her younger sister Dee Dee to escape their abusive mother and her alcoholic boyfriend. However, to the trio's frustration, what they steal keeps getting undervalued. The items that they bring. And then Money receives a tip. The character Money receives a tip from the guy that they go to with their valuables. There's a Gulf War veteran, Norman Nordstrom, that has $300,000 in cash in his house in an abandoned Detroit neighborhood. The cash was a settlement from a wealthy young woman, Cindy Roberts, who killed his young daughter in a car accident. So the three spy on the house and learn that Nordstrom is blind. So, of course, they think it's going to be easy pickings. So that night, the gang approaches the house. They drug Nordstrom's Rottweiler dog, then break in. The character Money puts a sleeping gas bottle in Nordstrom's bedroom. Seeking a locked basement door, Money assumes the loot is hidden in there and shoots the lock. The noise wakes up Nordstrom, who overpowers Money, takes his gun and kills him while Rocky and Alex silently watch. Rocky witnesses Nordstrom open a hidden safe to check his valuables. After he leaves, she opens the safe and takes the cash. However, Nordstrom finds Rocky and Alex's shoes, realizes there are more intruders, and then returns to find the safe is empty. And then we get a pretty good chase from there, where the two are trying to escape with the money, and they're basically not allowed to. So that's kind of the setup and the premise of the movie, the opening of the movie. Um, Going through the cast, we have Jane Levy, who plays Roxanne slash Rocky. She's the Detroit thief who wants to escape to California for a better life with her sister. We have Dylan Minnette as Alex, Detroit thief and friend of Rocky. Daniel Zavato is Money, who's a Detroit thief. And then, of course, Stephen Lang is Norman Nordstrom, the blind man, a veteran of the Gulf War who was blinded by shrapnel. So yeah, that's a mouthful, but that's basically this film. And wow, I was blown away by this movie in a very, very good way. Um, I loved it. It's one of the few movies that got me to get up off my seat, not jump off my seat, but just because of the tension, I had to stand up. I mean, it's that kind of a movie, and there's very few movies I've seen that does such a good job with tension and suspense, especially all the way through. You get scenes and moments in a lot of movies that are really suspense filled, a lot of tension, but from beginning to end, this movie delivers and it doesn't let up. And wow. Let's start with the positives, in my opinion. You got to start with the characters. There's only four characters, really, like main characters in this movie, but a couple of them are fleshed out well enough to kind of get why they're there and what they're doing. But I'm going to talk about two specifically that really stood out, and that, of course, is Rocky, sort of the main girl, main character, final girl, if you will. Spoilers, by the way. This is where it starts, if there are any. Rocky's played by Levy. I'm not sure if it's Jane Levy. I don't know. And then, of course, Stephen Lang, who plays Norman Nordstrom. Those are the two that really stand out to me, both because their characters are really flushed out and they're really well acted. Both Jane Levy and Stephen Lang do a fantastic job in these characters. And first I'm going to talk about Stephen Lang. He's got about 10 lines in the movie, maybe, but his performance through his look, which is scarier than hell at times, just through his demeanor, through his actions. I mean, what can you say? You really have to be a hell of an actor to be able to pull off a role like this without having any lines. And he does it. I mean, he's the star of the film, the co-star of the film, I should say, with Jean Levy or Jane Levy. Somebody correct me which way to pronounce it in the comments, but who plays Roxanne Rocky. She's a really compelling character because you understand her motivations for doing what she's doing, even though it's not obviously sainthood or anything. It's not a nice thing, but you kind of understand it. You kind of get behind her at certain parts in the movie. Yeah, those two just really stand out. Great performances, great characters, well written, well developed, which we don't always get in horror movies. So yeah, that's definitely a positive. Wall to wall suspense and just thrills that don't let up. As I said before, from beginning to end, as soon as they get into this house, between this Rottweiler dog that he has, that Nordstrom has, and Nordstrom is himself, who's blind, but obviously was obviously a veteran of the Gulf War, so he really knows how to use his instincts and all of his other senses. Um, just very scary, very suspenseful. I mean, it has everything you want in this type of movie. The atmosphere is very claustrophobic, which to me are always make some of the best horror movies or thriller movies when you have that claustrophobic atmosphere where the most of the movie takes place in like a few rooms or one house, one location, and this film does that. It's very claustrophobic. As an audience member, you almost want to break from it. You almost want to get out yourself, kind of thing. So great camera work. The angles that they use really ratchet up the tension. The cinematography is fantastic. The shots of Detroit, the overhead shots they use, just great, great. Which leads me to the director, Fede Alvarez. I guess he did, and I have to watch this one too. The remake of The Evil Dead, which I have not seen yet, but I do own it. I'll be watching that at some point soon. Um, and I heard that he does a really good job in that movie, which is completely different than that one. That one's more of a gore fest, is my understanding. Well, this is just a flat up thriller, and man, this guy's got talent. He had a vision, he went for it, and he delivered, in my opinion. So great directing. What's really interesting about this film, it's a positive, the way it turns on its head, sort of the moral turns within the film, because at the beginning you're kind of not rooting for um, these three that are characters that are breaking into his house, and you kind of root for the old guy. But then, as the story unfolds and things happen, you realize, oh, this old guy's not exactly innocent. There's one scene in particular; it's got a real twist in the movie, which I don't think I'll give away right now. If you've seen the movie, I'm just going to use the word turkey baster, and hopefully you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, great twist within the movie. There's a couple of twists, but the one in particular, in about the middle of the movie, that makes you realize and makes you each individual audience member figure out who they want to root for and who they don't want to root for. It's really interesting, and it goes back to great writing, great directing of this movie. Um, there's effective jump scares in this movie, and I'm not a huge fan of jump scares. I don't mind them as long as they're done effectively, and in this movie they're done effectively, and that's what that makes them much more efficient than effective. They're not the cheap ones like where somebody puts a hand on his shoulder and scares somebody. All that cheap shit that's used in a lot of horror movies. Like I said, great twists within the movie. The one in particular in the basement with the turkey baster, which that part that was cringe for me a little bit. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Turkey baster, just remember that. Great pacing of this movie. There's no wasted time. They really trimmed the fat off this movie. No wasted scenes like where you're sitting there wondering why are they focusing on this, or there's no bog down to this movie. It's just wall to wall, you're totally invested, you're totally on the edge of your seat. And like I said, I had to get off my seat and kind of stand up. I don't know why. It didn't really serve any purpose. It's just that I couldn't sit down. It probably had to do with that claustrophobic atmosphere. But this movie delivers on the scares, the tension, and the brutality of the kills without being overly gory or like torture porn territory. Yeah, I mean, I just can't praise it enough. As far as negatives go, I don't really. They're really nitpicky negatives, kind of the horror movie cliches, which they almost have to have in this type of movie. An example is the character of Money, who makes stupid decisions to basically get the movie plot rolling. Without him, you don't really have a movie. So I kind of understand it, but it's just like it's part of those horror tropes. There's also dumb decisions at times throughout the movie by other characters, like why are you doing that kind of thing. But again, that's part of horror movies. And then I'm not really sure. This is kind of a mix. I haven't decided if it's good or bad. But the very end of the film, after it fades to black, after if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. We kind of pick up with where the characters are after this horrific event. I'm not sure that was needed. I haven't really decided. I know why they put it in there. Obviously, it's playing at the theater right now, and that's because they wanted a sequel, or at least the opportunity to have a sequel. Um, so they had to sort of let you know that hey, this is where things stand now. And I don't know though. It kind of excuse me. I haven't decided whether I like it or not, whether it's a negative or a positive. I think I need to marinate on it a little bit, a little while longer, maybe have a rewatch of this movie. But I mean, certainly doesn't take away from what happens in the first, however long the movie is, minus those last 2 or 3 minutes. But yeah, I know why they did it, but I don't know why. I don't know if that it was needed. Even if you wanted a sequel, you still could have explained things in the beginning of the next movie. So that's all I got, guys. I just this is a 9 out of 10 kind of movie for me, 9.5 even. Go ahead and comment down below. Tell me if you've seen Don't Breathe, what your thoughts are about it. If you have any questions about it, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it. I can't speak to the second film at the theater because I haven't seen it yet. I've heard from a few people that it's kind of hit or miss, not as good as the original, as most sequels tend not to be. But you can comment down below too if you've seen the second one and want to make any recommendations or recommendations stay away from it. But I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. Fantastic thriller, fantastic suspenseful horror movie that delivers all the way through. Great characters, especially the two main leads, Stephen Lang and Jane Levy. I'll get it right sometime, but yeah, that's my thoughts and review for Don't Breathe. So, like I said, go ahead and comment down below, like this video, and subscribe to my channel to see future horror movie reviews. And stay scared. Thanks. Bye.